Hello, and welcome to this fourth lecture in this second section where we're going to look at the chapter 4 of Kotler's marketing management. In this section, we're going to continue to look at what are the questions, concepts provided in this lecture, and we will also provide solution to the cases in the 14th and 16th edition of Kotler's marketing management. And specifically this lecture, we're going to talk about analyzing business market, the chapter 4 of Kotler, answer any questions that have been asked in this chapter, and give solution to the cases in this chapter. So, understanding business market, let's start with understanding the business markets. Business markets consist of all organizations that acquire goods and services. Given the highly competitive nature of business to business market, the biggest enemy of marketeers have been commoditization. Commoditization takes away the margins and weakens the consumer loyalty. It can be overcome if the target consumers are convinced that meaningful differences exist between the various solutions that you are offering. So, thus, a crucial step of B2B marketing is to create and communicate that relevant differentiation from competitors. Business marketers face same challenges as consumer marketers. Three biggest hurdles to B2B marketing involves integrating sales and marketing department, managing innovation, and gathering and utilizing consumer and market insights. Four additional imperatives for demonstrating market contribution to business performance are engaging deeply, are identifying the right mix of central versus in decentralized marketing activities, finding and grooming the marketing talent and competencies, and getting engaging with deeply with consumers and understanding the markets. Business markets contrast sharply with consumer markets in many ways. There are fewer buyers but larger buyers. Closer supplier customer relationship. There are professional purchasing. Multiple buying influences, not one person who buys. All the business demand is derived demand. It is in many cases is inelastic demand and it is a fluctuating demand. Geographically concentrated are the buyers and there is a direct purchasing. There are also cases of indirect purchasing, but mostly it is direct purchasing. The business buyers face many decisions, including in making the purchase, depending on the complexity of the product being solved, newness of the buying requirement, number of people involved, and the time required to complete the purchase. There are basically three types of buying situations. One is a straight buy, where whatever you've been buying, that you buy again. Modified buy is whatever you bought earlier, you with some modification you're buying. A new buy is a completely new situation. The business buyer makes the fewest decision in the straight rebuy and most in the new buy situation. Uh, let's look at more in the types of buying decisions as Kotler has been doing that in this chapter. Over time, new buy decisions move into straight rebuys or and routine purchase behavior. New buy purchasing is the marketeer's greatest challenge and opportunity because the customer is open to all possibilities. He or she is not fixed into a straight rebuy. The buying process passes through several stages: awareness, interest, evaluation, trials, and adoption. Mass media is the most important tool during the awareness stage. Salespeople often have their greatest impact in the interest stage. Technical sources can be the most important during evaluation. Online selling efforts can be useful in all stages. In the new buy situation, buyers must determine product specification, price limits, delivery terms and timelines, service terms, payment terms, order quantities, acceptable suppliers, and selectors. So it's a very complex buying decision. Different participants influence each decision. There's no one different. Each one have. That's why you need different participants. The brand promise and the manufacturer's name recognition will be important in establishing trust and persuading the customer to consider a change. Marketeers should also try to reach as many participants as possible with information and assistance that you can give at all stages. Kotler talks about this concept of buying center. It's a decision-making unit of buying in the buying organization that consists of different individual and groups who participate in the different stages of decision-making process. So let's look at four things in this. What is the composition of a buying center? What is the role and what is the dynamics within the buying center? And how can you sell to the buying center? So the buying center composition basically consists of a couple of roles. There are initiators who start the whole process. There are users who are going to actually use your products and services. The influencers who will are going to provide influence in making decisions. There are deciders who actually decide what to buy, and there are approvers who decide the who approve the decision. So there's a fine distinction it makes. And there are buyers who actually go and implement the buying process, and there are gatekeepers, very interestingly, who kind of monitor what goes inside and outside the organization, whether it is information, meetings, or whatever. A buying center typically has 5 or 6 members and sometimes dozens actually. Some may be outside people, even government official, consultants, technical advisor, and members of the marketing channel. What is the role of buying center in the organization? Purchase departments in the past were occupied a humble position in the management hierarchy, and even then, even though they were managing half of the cost of the company. Recent competitive pressures have led many companies to upgrade the purchasing departments, and now they have very, very senior designations assigned to the people in purchase. These new, more strategically oriented purchase departments have mission to seek the best value from few and better suppliers. And that's what the buying center his role is evolving. Some multinationals have even elevated the purchasing department to what is called strategic sourcing departments, and they are responsible for global sourcing and partnering with suppliers to get the best deal for their company. So this upgrading of the purchasing department means marketer must upgrade their sales staff and marketing staff to match the higher caliber of today's new business buyers. What is the dynamics in the business center? And this is where Kotler talks about. The buying centers usually have include participants from with different interests, authority, status, and susceptibility to persuasion, and sometimes with different decision criteria. And as you see, you can read this through the remaining part of that. But there are different players and they have different things. Business buyers also have different personal motivations, perceptions, and preferences, influenced by their age, income, education, job position, personality, and attitude towards risk and culture. Purchasing decisions are ultimately made by individuals and not organizations. That's important to remember. And in this sense, the industrial buying decision is both rational and emotional because while there is a whole team that's going to make decisions, but there are individual perceptions, buyers, motivations that are being involved in making a decision. Say, what does selling to buying center involve? The Kotler talks about success B2B marketing requires the marketer to determine not only the type of companies to focus on, which is the target marketing, but also focus their selling efforts on whom to concentrate within the buying center for these. So not only the buying center, locating the buying center, but also within whom who to influence. Once marketers identify the type of business in which to focus, they must also decide best to sell to these business. Who are the major decision participants? What decisions do they influence? How deeply? And what evaluation criteria they have? And you should be able to influence multiple partners of the buying center. Business marketer is not only likely to know exactly what kind of group dynamics takes place, but so they have to whatever information he or she can obtain about the personalities, they have to work with that. Small sellers concentrate on reaching key influence decision maker. Large all influencers go for in-depth selling to as many as participants as possible. So that has an implication based on whether you are large or small because your competitors are going to do the same. Company must rely more heavily on their communication programs to reach hidden buying influencers and keep current customers informed. Business marketer must periodically review the assumption about the buying center participants, but these could change over a period of time during the buying process itself, which can be many months at times. In developing selling and marketing efforts, business marketers should also consider their customer's customer and the end users, if appropriate. And business marketers can seek out opportunity to interact with customers' customer and improve their offering to influence their better position in the whole process of buying. The Kotler talks about a 8-step buying process that starts with problem recognition, goes to need of description, product specification, supplier search, personal solicitation, supplier selection, contract negotiation, and a performance review. In the modified rebuy or straight rebuy, a organization or a buying center may not go through all the steps, whereas definitely in a new buy situation, most likely all the steps will be followed. Let's look at each of these steps in detail. Problem recognition is where the buying process starts. The recognition can be triggered by either internal or external stimuli. The internal stimuli could be a decision to develop a new product that requires new equipment and materials, a machine that breaks down, a purchased material may turn out to be unsatisfactory, and the buyer may be looking for a new supplier. Externally, it could be a new idea on a trade show, seen an ad, received an email from someone, read a blog, or take a call from someone. Business marketers can stimulate this problem recognition, and so that's the implication Kotler is talking about. As a marketer, you can initiate problem recognition by direct marketing in different ways. Need description is the next stage in which buyer determines the needed items' general characteristics and the required quantities. The goal here is to identify what specific needs that company aims to fulfill and the benefit it seeks to receive from the offering. So very critical stage. For a standard item, it is simple, which is the straight rebuy. For complex item, the buyer will work with many others, especially engineers and users, to define characteristics such as reliability, durability, price, quality, especially. Business marketers can help by describing how their product meet or even exceeds the buyer's needs. So you are getting the implication, as Kotler has said again. Once the need is described, the buying center goes on to develop the product specification. Often the company will assign a product value analysis engineering team to do the project, and that's where they rework the specification. And through the product analysis approach, which is a cost reduction approach that studies whether the components can be redesigned, standardized, or made cheaper for production without adversely affecting the performance. The value analysis team can identify over-designed components, for instance, that last longer than the product itself, and that's a very important team in the organization to reduce cost. Tightly written specification allow buyers to refuse components that are too expensive and that fail too. So that's very important. So specifications are very critical. Supplier can also use product value analysis as a tool to position themselves in this account. So they can use this tool to say how their product is better positioned to serve the value. Once the product specification is completed, the organization engage into supplier search, identify the most appropriate suppliers through variety of methods. To facilitate supplier search and gain power in negotiating suppliers, company offer forms buying alliances. Company that can purchase online uses electronic media or marketplaces in several forms, catalog sites, vertical markets, pure play, auction, electronic markets, spot electronic markets, private exchanges. So there are many forms that are coming up, and every maybe a couple of months there's a new format that's emerging. Online buying decision offers several advantages. Shares transaction costs, shaves transaction costs for both buyers and suppliers, reduces time between order and delivery, consolidates purchase systems, and forges more direct relationship between the buyers and suppliers. On the downside, online business need also tends to erode buyer-supplier relationship, create potential security problems. Uh, Once suppliers have been searched, the organization goes and solicits proposal, invites qualified suppliers to submit written proposal, and these are evaluated, the buyers will invite few suppliers to make formal presentations. So business marketers must be skilled in researching, writing, and making these proposals that describe value and benefit to customers. In addition, oral presentation must also inspire confidence and must position companies' capability, resources, so you stand out from competition. After the presentations, the supplier selection takes place. Business buyers seek the highest benefit package, economic, technical, service, and social in relation to other competitors. The strength of their incentive, of the supplier's incentive to purchase, is a function of the difference between the perceived benefit and the perceived cost. So the supplier who provides the highest perceived benefit at least perceived cost is normally the winner. The attribute the buyer normally uses to evaluate are like price, reputation, reliability, quality, agility. Before selecting a supplier, the buyer buying center will specify and rank desired supplier attributes. So they define what are the attributes, often using the supplier evaluation model. Business marketeer must therefore ensure that they fully understand what are the firm's offering are different and better on those evaluation criteria. To this end, supplier sellers often need to frame their offerings in such a way to enable them to underscore the benefits. So, if once you understand the important attributes, you need to frame it accordingly. It can be as simple as making sure customers recognize all the benefits and or the cost saving afforded by the offering, or becoming more influential in customers' thinking about the economy of purchasing. Uh, to develop compelling value proposition, business marketers need to understand the business buyers, how they arrive at their valuations, including the criteria that we talked about. Choice of attributes and their importance vary with the buying decisions. Delivery, reliability, price, and supplier reputation might be important for some companies. For others, more important attributes like technical service, supplier flexibility, and product reliability may be critical. Clearly identifying companies' uh, priorities when choosing a supplier and identifying supplier that meets the criteria is key to market success. Once your supplier has been selected, the contract negotiation happen into order that lists technical specification, quantity retailed, expected time, return policies, warranties, and price, of course. For maintenance, repairs, and operating items, buyers are moving towards blanket contracts rather than purchase contract. These blanket contracts are, instead of doing every month purchase order, you raise a contract for a year's time, and that provides a lot of benefit to both the people in terms of reducing non-value added work. Business marketeers are also setting up extranets with important customers to facilitate and lower cost of transaction. They are getting into what they can do is what is called vendor managed inventory, where they can either order what is they can customers can order directly without going through a paperwork. They can also get the supplies without even ordering the quantities they need once they've raised a blanket purchase order. Once the supplier is selected, has been supplying for some time, the performance review happens. The buyers periodically review the performance of the chosen supplier. Buyers may contact end users and ask them for evaluation internally. Rate the supplier on several criteria on a weight score method based on what they have used during the time of evaluation. Aggregate the cost of poor performance to come up with adjusted cost of purchase, and that's the most aggressive in closing price. The performance review may lead to supply buyer to continue, modifier, and a supplier relationship. Most companies have set up incentive systems to reward purchasing managers for good buying performance, leading to increased pressures from their suppliers on the best terms during the entire period of contract. Having understood how the buying happens in B2B businesses, let's look at how can Kotler talks about how can you develop effective business marketing programs, and he basically talks of five things. He talks about transitioning from product to solutions orientation, enhancing services, building B2B brands, overcoming price pressure, and managing communication. Let's look at each of these quickly. Transitioning from products to solution, many business buyers prefer to buy a total platform solution from one seller, and if you can offer that, that will be great. Sellers increasingly recognize that buyers like to purchase this way, and many have adopted system selling as a marketing tool. So, system selling is a great marketing tool that but requires you to have a wide variety of products and services that is required by the customer. One variant of system selling is system contracting, in which single supplier provides a buyer with all its maintenance, repairs, and other MRO requirements. During the contract period, suppliers also manages customers' inventory through a vendor managed inventory system. System selling is also a key industrial marketing strategy in bidding for large scale industrial projects. Uh, Firms must compete on price, quality, reliability, and other attributes to win these contracts. They must also actively be active early in the process to influence the development of the specification genuinely. Or they can go beyond the specification to offer additional value in variety of ways. So that's what is going from product to solutions. Get more actively involved. Enhancing services. Service play an increasingly strategic and financial role in many B2B firms that sell primarily products. Adding high quality services to the product offering allows companies to provide greater value and lower and establish closer ties with the company. Technology firms are also bundling services to improve customer satisfaction and increase profits, including subscription based services. A particular benefit of companies offering subscription services is that subscription model eliminates the need to constantly try to convince users to keep buying and upgrading to new quantity. And also, it keeps replacing the product as and when needed. Building B2B brands is becoming increasingly recognized in its importance by the marketeers. It gives marketers a peace of mind on product, on ensuring the quality, and thus makes sure easier to justify the purchase. B2B marketing in a corporate brand is most critical, and it requires a lot of effort, skill, and patience and time to build B2B brands. Price is a constant pressure, and the marketeers need to understand how to overcome price pressure. One of the despite moves towards strategic sourcing, companies continue to give pressure on the suppliers on price reduction. Number of price sensitive buyers can vary by country depending on the customer's preference of different service configuration and the characteristics of the customer organization. The companies that are driven by the core strategy, lowest cost configuration or lowest cost option would definitely offer more, will provide more price pressure than compared to companies who are driven on differentiation. Marketeers can counter these requests for low price in a variety of ways. They'll be able to show that the total cost of ownership is competitive or even lower than competition. They can cite the value that the services of the buyer now receives compared to others, and hence there is no need to reduce the prices. Service support and personal interaction can help overcome price pressure. Improving productivity helps alleviate price pressure. How can they improve the productivity of their products and services? Some companies handle price oriented buyers by setting a lower price but establishing restrictions that okay, I'll give you a low price, but this is what you will have to limit yourself in, this compromising on some amounts of the quality. Others seek solution to increase benefits and reduce costs enough to overcome the price concerns. Collaboration can further alleviate price pressure, and to make such arrangements work, supplier must be willing to work with customers, build a historical database, reach agreement on ensure measuring benefits and cost, and devise a mechanism for resolving disputes. There continues to talk about how Kotler continues to talk about how to reduce how to overcome price pressure, and he says in some cases the issue is not improving the offering but communicating. So it's not only just making the offering, but the way you have communicated, that should be taken into account from marketers. A popular approach to make the value of the more transparent to customer is economic value analysis, where you use the economic value analysis to show what is the value being added by your products and services versus the cost, and hence and even versus the competitors, and that can communicate the value a lot more transparently. Uh, a decision making theory is also used to succeed selling to new buyer. Company can improve its offer in many ways. First, it can increase its total benefit by improving the economic, functional, and psychological benefits. Second, it can reduce the buyer's non-monetary costs by reducing the time, energy, and psychological investment. Third, it can reduce the product's monetary cost. Lastly, so that the price pressure is communicated. Lastly, Kotler talks about managing communication as an important piece. Is usually associated with consumer market, but as important in business markets. Companies need to inform the customers about the benefit of the offering as well as coordinate the activities with suppliers. As in case of customer markets, you can use online space to communicate better using search engine optimization and search engine marketing to connect with the buyers. Some B2B marketers also adopt marketing practices on B2C market, and that's a good practice. Sometimes a mere personal touch can make all the difference. Customers that are considering dropping 6 to 7 figures in one transaction of a big ticket good and services want all the information they can get, especially from trusted. So, information provision, providing right information also helps you build good communication. How do you manage B2B relationship? And basically, it talks about Kotler talks about four things: understanding buyer, seller, suppliers relationship, managing corporate trust, credibility, and reputation, risk and opportunism in business relationship, and managing institutional buyers. Understanding buyer and supplier relationship, he mentions that most research has advocated greater vertical coordination between buyers and suppliers so that they can transcend the day-to-day transaction. So you must get see how can you add more value to your buyer rather than the product that you're supplying. A number of factors influence the development of relationship. Four relevant forces are availability of alternative, importance of supply, complexity of supply, and supply market dynamism. Beside these forces, buyer-supply relationship can range from basic buying and selling that involves simple routine exchanges with moderate level of cooperation and information exchange to a collaborative relationship that where the trust and commitment level leads to a true partnership. And it should be an effort of a marketer to do that. Over time, however, relationship roles may shift, and you need to be aware of that and keep moving accordingly. The closest relationship between the customer and supplier arise when the supply is most important to customer, and there are few uh, suppliers who can make that supply, as well as that there are obstacle to getting new suppliers, and that's because that's a complex arrangement. Greater vertical coordination between supply and buyer through information exchange and planning is usually necessary only when high environmental uncertainty exists and specific investments are needed for that. One of the critical thing in managing relationship in managing corporate trust, credibility, and reputation, and he nicely explains here the differences between these three words. Building trust is a core prerequisite for enjoying a healthy long-term relationship. Trust is firm's willingness to rely on business partner. Can I trust you? Can I, if you say something, can I believe in that? Building trust can be especially tricky in online setting because uh, you don't see each other face to face, which helps build trust. And firms often impose more stringent requirements on their online business partners because of that. Corporate credibility is different from trust and is the extent to which customers believe that the firm can design and deliver the products and services that satisfy its wants and needs. So you may be trusted, but you may have low credibility. It reflects supplier's reputation in the marketplace and is the foundation of a strong relationship. Corporate credibility depends on three factors: expertise, to the extent they can, customer company can make and produce the products required. Corporate trustworthiness that reflects to extent company tells you what they mean and they walk the talk. And corporate likability, how much is your company liked? In other words, a credible firm is good at what it does. It keeps the customer's best interest in mind and is enjoyable to work with. So that's what is one of the important tenets of building good relationship. There is also what is called, he talks about a very important concept of risk and opportunism in business relationship. Establishing a customer supplier relationship creates tension between safeguarding, ensuring predictable solution, and adopting, allowing for flexibility for unanticipated needs. So there is this dynamic tension between the two. Vertical coordination can facilitate stronger customer sell over time, but also may increase the risk of customer and supplier specific investment because you will need to make specific investments and that increases your risk as a supplier. Specific investments are those expenditure that are tailored for a particular company and they cannot be used for everyone else. And the value chain partner and the partner values that, right? Specific investment, however, also entail considerable risk for both customer and supplier, depending on who has invested and what are the changes they're making in systems processes. Because initial investment in specific investments in specific investment can be higher. Firm can be locked into a particular relationship. So they're nice to build relationship, but they are risky. Further, sensitive information, cost, and processes may need to be exchanged. A buyer may be vulnerable to hold up because of switching costs, and this builds actually switching costs. A supplier may be more vulnerable because it has dedicated assets and the technology and knowledge at stake in terms of the risk that is involved there. He goes on to talk about more on risk and opportunity in the business relationship. So when the buyer cannot easily monitor supplier performance, the supplier might shrink or cheat or not deliver the expected value. And that's what he talks as opportunism. Opportunities is the form of cheating or undersupply relative to implicit or explicit contract. So you expect it to deliver and you are start cutting corners on that is what is called opportunism. Very important concept. A more passive form of opportunism might be refusal or willingness to adapt to a changing circumstances or negligence in satisfying contractual obligation. It is a concern because firms must devote resources to control and monitor that they otherwise allow allocate to more productive resources. Because if you have a supplier who is prone to use to opportunism, you will have to monitor that itself, and that will require resources. Contracts may be inadequate to cover supply transaction when supplies are difficult to detect. Firms make specific investment and says they cannot see themselves, and the contingencies are harder to anticipate. Customers supply are more likely to form a joint venture when the supplier's degree of asset specificity is high and the monitoring of the supplier's behavior is difficult. The presence of a significant future time horizon and or strong solidarity norms highly causes customer supply to strive for joint benefits. The specific investment shifts from exploration to bonding opportunity becomes that reduces the opportunism. How can you manage institutional markets? Institutional markets are different from the the organizational markets. In discussion, largely considered on buying behavior is the profit-seeking companies, and most of what we have said also applies to buying practices of the institutional and government organization. However, we want to highlight Kotler highlights few differences specifically to these institutional market. The institutional market consists of, he defines as basically in schools, hospitals, nursing homes, prisons, other institutions that must provide good services to people in their care. Many of these organizations have low budget and captive clienteles. They typically are government organization where for major and they're a major buyer of goods and services. They require suppliers to submit bids, and they often award on the lowest bidder basis while keeping the quality at a certain minimum level. Government may also buy if negotiated contract on negotiated contract basis. Because the spending decision is subject to public review, government organizations require considerable paperwork from suppliers, and that's very important to know. Different types of agencies have different needs, priorities, purchasing styles, and time frame. Vendors often do not pay enough attention to cost justification and major activity the government procurement professionals need. How do you manage institutional markets? Kotler goes on to say, companies hoping to become government contract need to help government agencies see the bottom line impact of their product. Demonstrating useful experience and successful past performance helps through case studies, etc. Just as companies provide the government agency with guidelines about how best to purchase, government agencies would be to suppliers would also provide detailed guidelines how to sell to the government. Failure to follow these guidelines or fill the forms can lead to a legal nightmare. So it's very different from a different B2B market, from a normal B2B market. Fortunately for businesses of all size, government has been trying to simplify these procedures. Reforms have been taking place, and several agencies, government agencies that act as purchasing agents for the rest of the government, have launched web-based catalogs that allow authorized agencies to buy everything from various suppliers, various kinds of supplies. Having looked at how does the B2B market and understood operate and what are the different types and what are the implications of marketing, what do we do next? So in this chapter, we have two more cases that we will give you the answers of in the assignments in the form of there's a case on Udan and there's a case on Salesforce. And as we have been saying, you can use this lecture now to first to recap for your exam software interview and use to understand how they can be applied, the concepts can be applied to the cases, and do the case yourself. I hope you are finding this recap useful, and you'll be able to use it meaningfully for your exams and interviews, and learn to apply in the cases and get answers to cases. I look forward to see you again shortly.